Good evening. Welcome once again to Straight from the Sky. I'm your talk show host, Bobit Avila. Tonight we have a very interesting show. We will talk about the continuation of our battle against the reproductive health bill. And this time, we have guests who came straight from Manila, from the youth, who will talk about why they are still fighting against this reproductive or RH bill. And tonight with us, we have Peter Pardo, the National Capital Region Youth Coordination. We have Eileen Esteban, the Youth p-noy President. And we have Bobit Avila, University of the Philippines for Life, or Youth Up for Life, if you would like to say it, or Filipinos for Life. They are the youth sector. I have not really talked to the youth on this particular issue, but they're really a blessing coming from the Lord to speak to our youth and why they believe that we should not have an RH bill. I will be back with that. Thank you for staying with us. We're really honored and blessed to have people from Manila who just come here for our show so that they will be able to send their message to you in your television set, so maybe you'll understand what we're talking about and why we're still against the RH bill. And let's start with Peter Pardo. You're an NCR youth coordinator. Maybe you would like to know who you are.
Good evening, Sir Peter. I am Peter Pardo, the coordinator of the National Capital Region Youth Institute. It is composed of 10 dioceses in Manila, including the Diocese of Imus and the vicariates of Taytay, Palawan, and Puerto Princesa.
Wow, Palawan and Puerto Princesa.
And basically, this is composed of different mandated youth organizations in the parish, including that of the campus ministries and transparochial bilingual groups under the diocesan structure.
But who are you? I mean, where do you come from?
I am from the Diocese of Paranaque. I am the youth coordinator of the Youth Commission of the diocese. And I grew up in a family of 7.
Okay.
I'm the youngest. And I started serving the church since I was 10 years old.
So like me, I was also an altar boy.
Yeah.
So you're an altar boy also.
Yes, I'm from the altar.
But how is it that you became the youth coordinator of this?
Well, I started from the parish. I was then the coordinator of the parish commission of youth. Later on, I was elected coordinator of the vicariate. And then after that, I was elected the diocesan coordinator representing my vicariate. And when we had the election in the regional structure, I was elected from among the diocesan coordinators to be the overall coordinator of the NCR.
I'd like to know, are you a large group?
It's a large group considering that it came from all the parishes in the diocese. Like for example, in the diocese of Paranaque, we have 52 parishes. All of these parishes have youth organizations, like the Altar, Legion of Mary, choir members, young adults. So basically, these are the membership of the group.
Well, thank you for that, Peter. Let's now go to Miss Eileen Esteban. She's Youth p-noy President. Maybe you should talk about yourself also.
Good evening, Mr. Alba. Good evening, Cebu. I am Eileen Esteban. I'm the president of Youth p-noy. Youth p-noy is an alliance of youth organizations based on the parishes and transparochial organizations. It is a CDCP youth organization that is under the Office of Episcopal Commission in the Youth and the Office of Transmedia. So 3 years ago, we were formed by these two commissions to keep the call of the Holy Father to actually evangelize the internet through the youth. So basically, the ministry is evangelizing the young people through the use of technologies.
So, are you different from the group of Peter?
Actually, Peter's group is what I consider as a organization.
And your group is?
Our group is an umbrella organization. It's an alliance of all these youth groups, but basically with the main thrust of using new technologies or the
And so you're in social networking?
So, I would say they're new media because it encompasses all technologies, not just the internet.
So you are into Facebook also?
Yes.
You should be friends in our Facebook.
You invite me, sir.
But who is Eileen Esteban from? Where do you come from?
Well, as a youth, I also started as a doing catechism for the Salesians. That's where I grew up naman. was formed as a delicious eventually. I went to the university around with the Dominicans. So when I was in college, I was part of the Dominican network. I was a member of the Dominican network, and right after college, we went into this volunteer program in the Dominicans. So that's when I started the ministry of becoming so active in the church. And lo and behold, 3 years ago, I was appointed by the bishop and the director of CGCC Media to become the president of the
GBCP, you're these Catholic bishops conference.
Yes.
So what about the family? How many of your family?
But I'm in the LLC of the family and we are 4.
You're 4, so you're still way past the one-child policy of China. So let's now go to you, Bobit Avila of the University of the Philippines for Life, or Filipinos for Life.
So, my baby, actually, it's quite an honor to be here at Mr. Alex Madelia. I grew up in Davao. I'm the older of 2 siblings. My family's in Davao, and then I only went to UP in Diliman for college. So I've been in Quezon City for the past 4 years. So in the course of my stay in the university as the coordinator of the local parish of the campus ministry attached to the local parish within UP, we engaged the community in UP in this fight against the RH bill. Because as we know, the National University is quite known for its support for the RH bill.
Support and its community support for communism.
So in a way, we were thinking, the whole of UP is not for the RH bill. In fact, we know that the ones supporting the RH bill are merely a noisy minority in UP.
Really, that is the way they perceive it in the newspapers.
Yeah.
They are the large minority. That's the way communistic ways. Yeah.
So precisely our point, we were saying, these people are representing themselves as people from UP and who strongly support the RH bill. These are a noisy minority, and we're saying that not everyone in UP is for the RH bill. And so one day we decided, why not form a group? In fact, before our group started, a couple of faculty, students, and alumni came out with a position paper, which we now support. So this position paper we developed into an alliance of faculty, students, and staff, even alumni of the different campuses of the University of the Philippines throughout the country. So we have chapters in UP Baguio, in UP Visayas, and in UP Diliman, of course. And we're looking forward to establishing chapters in UP Mindanao and in UP Cebu.
That is, remember, this is an uphill climb. Because why? Number one, we are the last man standing. When I say last man standing, all the monies that was given to the United Nations to make countries like Mexico, Spain, go into abortion, gay rights, or same-sex marriage and divorce, have already been spent in those countries, and they already came up with their own RH bills. And they already have their abortion, their divorce. So now, the Philippines is the last nation on earth that has no divorce, no same-sex marriage, and still fighting the RH bill. So it means there is a huge amount of money that's involved. And in this world of materialism, money is a lot of things, especially to the youth who doesn't have money. When we were kids, money was also a big problem. So now, aren't you not scared that it is better na lang that you join along with them? Because why? You can make money out of it.
But that's actually quite funny. Coming from, in the context of the university where everyone's free to express their beliefs, their positions, and everything. When it comes to the RH bill, of course, we take the time, we take the effort, we pay the effort to organize a forum about the RH bill. And when the other side, the pro-RH people, organize, these events, may pakain, may pagkaon kami, may buffet,
May kwarta yun.
may kwarta yun, klaro, may giveaway, may pay, may t-shirt, may scarf. And it's a wonder how these things can move, how strong these groups are, and they move with money. Samantala kung kami ang mag-hold of forum sa UP, may kwarta, may kaon. But the only thing we're holding on is the truth actually, and the coolest thing in giving these talks to students right now, the direction we're taking is we go into classes, we talk to classes about the truths behind the RH bill. And the funny thing is, when you give them the facts, when you talk to them in the language of science, you talk to them in quite a secular language. When you leave the language of the church,
Correct.
kind of at the side at the beginning, these people actually respond well. And they tell us, ganun pala yun. We've never heard about that before.
Yeah, because it's always been the church, diba? You're in the church, it's always been the church saying that aloud.
Actually, one thing that we are trying to use as an anchor today is the RH bill, us as youth, we're not opposing it just for religious reason. There are a lot of practical issues that we need to educate the youth about the RH bill, that they need to understand. So it's really just about information dissemination and information education campaign for different youth, so they would understand the real areas of the RH bill.
Well, you are in the sector of society which needs to be educated. Because why? Bobitanin pobre ang Pilipinas. The Philippines is poor. We cannot get out of that cycle of poverty because of lack of education. And right now, you're in the midst of all of this. And Peter wanted to say something already, but we will just reserve his statement after this break. You were staying with us. Peter, you were about to say something because I'm sure you were raring to go.
Yeah, I believe that this RH issue, sir, is far from a religion issue. In the NCR, that's the reason why we're pushing for educating our young people in the parish, in the diocese, because we wanted to let them realize that this is more than just a church issue, but rather it is an immune threat to the Filipino culture, to Filipino values. And later on, the target of this is the young people. Those who will come after us and the generations to come. We don't want to create a community of young people with this mentality of contraceptives, and will lose their morality later on.
Well, that means you have to. I have to throw these questions to you now. Do you practice what you preach?
I could say, in all honesty and with much pride, that yes, I do.
Because in your age, when your sexual is coming out, your urges comes out, everything is blank. Remember when you fall in love, sometimes you misuse the word. You think that you just have a sexual urge, but you are falling in love already. But no, it's not. So this is a very good question that I have to ask the three of you. So have you practiced what you've been preaching? I mean, do you engage in extramarital sex?
I remember what my father told us when he was still alive. He told us that let us not, we do not allow ourselves to put in a situation that we cannot say no. So that's what we avoid. We're in every time that we'll be into this situation, well, I do not pray immediately, but I try to avoid the situation.
Well, okay, how about you? Eileen, you're a pretty girl. I'm sure a lot of guys will court you or whatever.
Well, thank you for the compliment, sir. I guess for someone like me who's also a professional and has been more or less exposed to the world, I guess for women, they should always stand their ground. That is one thing that I learned with all this keeping your values intact, being open to changes, but values doesn't change. Things like this, things you learn from your parents, things you learn from the church, it should always be something tight, and you stand your ground. That should one thing women should know and practice. And for the youth, actually, we can say no. One thing that we actually promote is that through Love Ways, there's this movement that we've been supporting, and part of those information campaign that we've been doing is we teach teenage girls, we organize fora talking about sex education in the perspective of love and true love.
Yes.
Anything that talks about love, anything that talks about relationship, teenagers or young people can easily get there. So that's how we, so to speak, package our fora. You don't just tell them, this is not the right thing to do, but this is the right thing to do. And you have every right to say no and to choose to be to do sex before marriage. After marriage, I'm sorry. so sorry.
But you know, like I said, there is what you call peer pressure, especially in our time. And I will be very blunt. In our time, have you had sex already? Have you tried sex already? Parang, okay, well, I admit I had sex already. Why? Because that was peer pressure. No? But at the time, prostitutes were easy to come by. And I think it's even easier now. But for men, it's not a problem. Because like I said, you can pay. Problem now is women. Because if you say no, you're rude. If you say no, he will not like me anymore. He will court somebody. So that's a huge problem. You feel that this guy is the right guy. He's guapo. Usually you look for guapo when you are in the young age. Bahala na walang pera, basta guwapo lang. But when you're already 35, bahala na hindi guwapo, basta may pera lang. So, all of that is going to the one word called sex. Because if you give in, he may marry you. But the other risk that you take is if you give in, you lose your virginity, and then he'll end up dumping you for another girl that he wants to conquest again. No? So, where are you in this?
I think every woman should be able to have a grasp of, what we call a sense of themselves. Like the confidence that you get more respect when you stand your ground and you say, and I know that from experience, you would get more respect from men who knows that you know your value as a woman.
Yes.
Not as an object.
Yes.
Not as, you taken as a commodity.
Yes.
You are a woman, essence of value, and you are worth to be loved and to be made.
In fact, that's the message I always give to mga young girls who are still studying. And I always say, if a guy wants you, and you're still studying, and he wants you just to bed you, say no. Because why? Your only value now is only your body, because you're still young. When you get old, what's your value? Better you finish, mag-doktor ka na. When you're a doctor already, you have already value. He will not want you only for your value of your body, but also for your profession. So these are things that you have to balance out. No? Okay, Kiboy.
So I think you give for that we would sort of be viewed from the chastity thing. I'm just kidding. Since the message we're sending, first and foremost, is a message. It's quite a secular message, as I've said. So we speak to people on in terms of science, in terms of math. And we don't really talk to them about chastity, about gospel values, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, we never fail to send out the message. At the end of the day, as the forefathers of the United States have once stated in one of their speeches, that chastity is the first political virtue. So they said this to give primacy to the fact that in chastity, society would find stability. So even if we don't speak about values, even if we don't speak about religion or morals in our talks, we never fail to emphasize that at the end of the day, dignity, human dignity in its truest form, which I would like to say that our members live out as best as we could and respect as best as we could. Human dignity is the basis of society, of a truly developing society. And so we speak about it, and we speak about how important it is for society to respect dignity.
I love the way you say it, because respect is really something. If you like a woman, you're young, and you must learn to respect so that you will have her dignity, di ba? I've always believed in this, that I've always looked from the point of view of marriages in the Philippines, where actually separation is a small percentage. They make it big also na, irreconcilable differences. But so that's a problem. You did not look into or peer into the future, no? Or maybe you're just what you call immature. But I've always looked at the woman in a marriage is the rudder, so Bisaya timonel sa relasyon, the rudder of the relationship, because it's really the woman. The man can go anywhere he wants it, but if he has a wife, it's the woman who can handle that direction. And in the relationship also, the woman is the one who will keep her chastity or her virginity. Why? If she does not hold on, she will allow, then that extramarital sex will happen. If she holds on and refuses and the man rapes her, he doesn't respect her. She has no more dignity because then that's the wrong man for you. That it's rape, but it's a criminal act. So what do you say to that, Ellie?
As I said, there's always a choice to say no. And I will repeat this again. Every woman should be able to find value about themselves outside their body, outside themselves, what appears to people, whatever is physical. So they would know their value as a human person. And that would actually make the woman, the girl, confident, to assert her rights, to assert her values, and to assert whatever she believes in.
But in our go ahead.
Well, on that note, we question what the RHP would want to do, in matters like those, because we say the proponents of the bill would claim that the RHP is about women's rights. It's about protecting, the dignity of women. It's about preventing or avoiding sexual harassment. And we question, if you give a woman, a battered wife, for example, a woman who is constantly raped by her husband, if you give them contraceptives, for example, would that stop the husband from
Battering
using
her, yes.
from battering the woman?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, the RH bill would never answer questions on human dignity. It cannot. And there's a conflict of messages. The proponents would say that we're sending a message of dignity, of respect for women. But on the contrary, we say that no, it sends the wrong message. The message we speak of is the real message on dignity.
Well, that's exactly because the proponents of the RH bill are the leftists.
On our efforts, our time, etc. For something else, we put all our efforts to values formation in our activities, whether that is a church activity or school, or even in our house, in our homes.
Well, the youth today is bombarded by so much images of, especially porn, extramarital relationships start from there, and you are actually we're human. We succumb to such exposure, no? So what do you do to prevent these things?
Well, as I said, values formation is very critical here. So we wanted to strengthen also the Filipino values among the young people.
Maria Clara value.
Yeah.
Yes.
They always say that the church people always just pray. But we wanted to put them into reality also that, of course, prayer is important, but we have to link ourselves into reality also using the values that we have as a Filipino and as a Catholic young people.
Although, just to comment on that topic, we often ask, we have to teach children, we have to teach youth values, we have to teach them how to become good citizens. But one of the questions we ask is, what would prompt them to learn? What's in it for them?
Yes.
And another good question would be, why are the youth acting in this way? Why are the youth becoming more promiscuous?
Yes.
Mubalik pa ko na sa scenario bito, kung ato ta sa barrio mo, kung ato sa barangay, ang mga batan mo magod karon, if you ask them, what's cool for you? What's in? What's hip? Kunya mo ingon na lang sila nga, sex, drugs, gimmick. Why? Because there's nothing else for them. In fact, right now we're part of a project where we go to different areas, and we give the youth there, especially the poor children, we give them something new, we give them something different, and we give them the message that when you talk about values, when you talk about contributing to society, that's cool. That's good. That's going to be good for you. That's better for your future. Because right now, nobody tells them that the way to go is the way to go is values. The way to go is character formation. Nobody tells them that.
Correct.
And that's the message they're waiting.
And call it fortunate or call it unfortunate if you want it, that it is actually the value formation is being presented every Sunday by the priest in the pulpit. So it is only the Catholic Church, and I'm sure the other Christian churches as well, doing value formation for our people. But the problem is, when they go magsimba after the church, after the mass, they go out and do their thing. I mean, it's just big Catholic, as I would say, many of them are what you call cafeteria Catholics. Because in the old days, if you go into your Bible, Moses was actually, Israel was a theocracy. Theocracy meaning, Morag Iran, the state and the church are one. But it has changed since. And right now, what we're trying to do for this Philippines, sana, is to have a country that is maybe secular, but will always put their eyes on the Lord. Because that is important. Because after all, God wins. God rules everything. So now, it is coming from the church, and it is natural sana. That's why, as you mentioned earlier about the Constitution of the United States, that Constitution was in a way God-given because it gave America, that's why in their dollar, in God we trust. Huh? But now, they really want to raise that. In the Philippines, they also want to raise that. So, where are we, Eileen, in this point, in our country today? Are we still in that value, or is the government teaching us values?
You know what's the part, what the scary part is? Apart from the fact that the government is not really helping out on teaching these kids values, they are trying to eradicate movements and organizations, maybe not eradicate, but dilute these movements who are teaching values to the kids. And the RH bill is a very clear manifestation of this, that this is a move, probably a subtle move of the government to take away from families, from homes, the teaching of values to their kids. Because if we will notice, one of the provisions of the RH bill is the mandatory sex education,
Yes.
which starts at grade 4, right?
Yes.
Grade 5. Can you imagine grade 5? I mean, these kids would, especially here in the Philippines, probably in the US, probably in Europe, it's a different scenario altogether.
Different culture.
A different culture. They are more advanced probably
Yeah.
in many ways possible in the Philippines. But here, can you imagine your grade 5 daughter or son talking about sex? And kids nowadays, they're very curious. You cannot sometimes confine them in one place and tell them not to do this and assume that they will follow you. So it's a very dangerous water that we're trying to tread here by teaching kids as early as grade 5.
Something that their parents should have been teaching.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And home should be the very essence, the very start of values, education, and formation. And the government putting it in school would be very detrimental.
Especially it will be your teacher now taking the role of the parent, diba?
And the tricky part is some teachers doesn't have the
They don't have that values.
the capacity
Yeah,
to
not the values.
even talk about it,
Yeah.
to be comfortably talking it in an objective manner, and at the same time balancing it in a voice or in a tone where you're trying to not to placate them, but to instill values. And that should be the core of it. It shouldn't be about teaching the kids sex and how to prevent pregnancy, but teaching them to wait and to take sex as a sacred,
Yes,
sacred thing,
institution.
sacred
Yeah.
value.
Yes.
But if I may add, we looked into some of the modules they were proposing for use. In fact, they're implementing these modules in some pilot classes
Yes.
around the country. And one of the modules would actually go as far as to ask what are the obstacles to the free exercise of reproductive rights in the youth. So ginapabata na dito kung sa daw mga what are the hindrances. And the modules would list two intriguing answers to that question. Number 1, pangingialam ng pamilya. And number 2, simbahan. So the very institutions that we have that teach values to our children, the few remaining institutions that we have,
The social, the family.
tirahon karon sa RH pinunya ingon nga these are obstacles to the free exercise of reproductive rights, which is crazy.
Well, kana, kung buang na yun ang atong mga tao, then what I mean, Peter,
And just to add dun sa point ni Eileen, the provision in the article that the mandatory sexuality education, they sugarcoated it. They said that It's no longer mandatory, but it's an optional. The parents should be given this option to excuse their children not to attend these subjects wherein they will discuss sexuality education. But in reality, will it happen?
No.
Sino parents ba will have this courage to excuse their children in 4 subjects in just 1 class not to attend this sexuality education?
Because the provisions of the bill would say that it's not really a separate sex education subject. It's integrated in all relevant subjects.
Yes.
So if
For
I-
major subjects.
In relevant subjects, if I were a parent and if I would rather teach my child sex education myself, and ask mo, anak, absent na lang sa klase, anak. In effect, the child doesn't just absent himself from sex ed, he absents himself from math, or science, or Filipino, or English, because it's integrated.
Wow.
And that's crazy.
I'm glad you pointed out because that's not really what being told to many of the youth. Peter, continue.
And also, I cannot imagine our young people attending classes, listening to a math subject teacher, English, Filipino, science, all of them discussing about sexuality education. Why? What do we want them to have? The masteral on sexuality education. So that's why we're so against it.
Just a small note, we'd like to clarify though, that we are not against sex education. The issue here is not whether we need sex education or not, because we do need sex education. The question is really where, when,
And who?
how, and who will teach it.
That's exactly why we should not approve the RH bill. When I was grade 5, I'll tell you, sex was out of my mind. Why? Maybe when I was in high school, so that's what, grade 6, then first year, second year. Wow, that's 4 years later. But remember one thing, the difference today is our kids are exposed to the internet and porn is easy to come by. So maybe there is, for you parents, a need to teach your children earlier because especially let them use your iPad, they might find out that there is sex out there even when they're 5 years old. And we'll be back with our guests for a final set after this break. For a final set, let me point out that we are lucky here in Cebu that all our political leaders are against the RH bill, except for Representative Tomas Menya, who said that he will not vote anyway. Anyway, he's running for mayor. We don't know what will happen, so his vote will not be counted. But you guys, everything is now uphill when it comes to RH bill, especially when Corona has been removed. He was perceived to be very pro-life and an obstacle when the RH bill will be passed and it will be brought to the Supreme Court, and then maybe it might lose there. So maybe what you have to say, you have a message, Peter?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to share with you the consolidated statement on the reproductive health bill of the NCR.
Okay.
This is, we, the young people of the National Capital Region, composed of the Commission on Youth of the following: Archdiocese of Manila, Diocese of Parañaque, Diocese of Pasig, Antipolo, Cubao, Novaliches, Caloocan, Imus, and Apostolic Vicariates of Puerto Princesa and Taytay, Palawan, strongly denounce and object in the strongest possible terms the passage of a very divisive bill, House Bill number 4244, entitled an act providing for a comprehensive policy on responsible parenthood, reproductive health, and population development, and for other purposes. Sir, we are mindful that this is far from the religion issue. Rather, it is an imminent threat to Filipino cultural values regarding human life and morality. This issue affects much of the youth population and the next generations to come, who will inherit the negative effects of the RH bill. We uphold the fundamental law, which is the Constitution, as we choose to live in a society that supports freedom of conscience as a fundamental right, discipline rather than shortcuts, eliminates discrimination rather than opening the door to various and detrimental forms of discrimination. We choose to live in a democracy that does not instill fear in the exercise of freedom, and we choose to live in the truest sense of democracy by exercising our freedom of conscience, religion, and of speech. Lastly, we choose to love ourselves and our neighbor by instilling respect and recognizing our dignity as human persons, created in the image and likeness of God. Moreover, We choose to love and preserve the identity and soul of our country as by makadiyos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa, which is intact and non-negotiable. As we lay down our chosen path, we urge our legislators and the President not to build a ship that is wretched. Cradle for us a leadership, for we won't sell anybody out to buy our future. Ang paninindigan po namin ng mga kabataan ng NCR na sa aming pagtingin at pag-aaral, ang RH Bill ay pagsugal sa aming kinabukasan. To our young people and all those who love this country, we have come to the crossroads. We have chosen a path, the right path. The path made of a principle that leads to character. Let us not destroy the sanctity and beauty of life, protect it, and embrace it. Forever will show the spirit of the young, the spirit that will not die. Yes to God, no to RH Bill.
Well, that's a very good message because actually, Lee Kuan Yew came up with an article in Forbes magazine on May 7, 2012, very recent, and where he warned developed countries that if you cut your population, because mo mag-purpose sa RH Bill, you will suffer, your economy will suffer. Not today, it will suffer 10 years later. And in the Philippines here, we have not even gone up. By the time we do that, manaog atong ekonomiya. Because that's had nothing to do with the church. It is not representing any religious groups, but he was talking out in economic terms. Okay,
Well, that's precisely the message we're trying to send when we come together, the youth come together. So, among ginaawhag siguro mga batanon, no? Diri sa Cebu, mga viewers nato nga.
Nabi na palit dari sa mga batanon who are for RH Bill, taga San Jose. And I dare them to debate with me on that one.
So, so I think this would be a good time to invite them to be one with us. Kasi if we show the world, if we show our government that we are one in this fight, nakita na we come together and we have the numbers. We'd like to remind everyone that at the back of this bill is a price tag, 13.7 billion pesos. Every year, close to 14 billion pesos every year. For funding, for contraception.
13 billion?
It's that big. And we question,
Masud ang bulsa sa politisyan.
Precisely. So ikaw, as someone from the youth, this is an insult to my future. This is an insult to our future. And we ask the youth to be one with us in this fight because at the very end of the day, hindi man ka ng mga nag-debate sa Kongreso ang maiguan ng RH Bill, it will be us.
Well, you're right in the timing of the 2013 elections. So are we going to come up with a group during the time to debate politicians, engage them? I invite you to bring a politician who is a pro-RH and you come here on the show and I will, one of you or two of you against that politician who's planning to run. Okay mo? Because I will allow this. Yes.
Sumul ganin mo may katawanan kayo mo yung ganin nga kong dali debate ta yung sa in UP we invite congressmen pro-RH congressmen to come di mo mabot
Kinabayran naman sila because they cannot argue, they have been paid, nabayran na sila. Why argue with you? Already got the money.
And actually, sir, the statement that I just read, we will be giving copies of this statement to our respective congressmen from the opening of the session this July 23. And the day before that, the NCR Youth Ministry will be having this big event and wherein we will be conducting discussions on the RH Bill, and then we'll sign the statement and bring this to Congress the following day to our respective
Has
Congress.
this been signed already?
Yeah.
When was that signed?
It was signed by the leaders of the NCR and on the 22nd during the assembly
of June?
July po.
Of July.
Yeah, wherein we will invite all the leaders from the parishes, the diocese to sign the manifesto and give it to our respective congressmen.
Wow. Okay. Eileen.
Actually, to add up to that, sir, to concretize all of this, I mean, we don't stop on debates, we don't stop on guesting and educating our fellow youth. We also make dialogues to our legislators because at the end of the day, they're the ones to vote for this and they're the ones who will pass this as a bill.
Never mind itong nabayran nga mga batanon.
Marami pa tayong kaalyansa
Yes.
sa Kongreso. Anyway, we come up with a youth manifesto entitled Our Voice, Our Vote, which we will give to our legislators on the opening of the Congress. And this has been signed by all the youth organizations making the alliance and against the RH bill. So, sir, if you may allow me, I could read the part of this.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah. So, just to give the gist of the manifesto, we are for population management and development, and we too dream of progress. However, genuine progress can never be achieved until our government invests genuinely in our people. Our population is an asset. Government must treat it as an asset. Rural development, entrepreneurship, improved standards of education, expansion of opportunities for employment, intensified trust for scientific research and development, cultivation of the arts and culture. This constitutes genuine investments in our people. This is the way to secure our future. While the RH bill posed itself as a comprehensive attempt to relieve our people of a particular ill, it is this very claim of comprehensiveness that blinds it from its cause. We cannot afford to gamble our future. We cannot afford to legislate what constitutes harm to our people. The youth, in defense of our welfare, can and will invest our support in legislators who know how to genuinely invest in us. In solidarity, we declare our opposition to the RH bill. This is our voice. This is our vote for 2030.
Wow, so there you are, Kiboy.
Well, I guess, the invitation stands for the youth who are watching this show, to sign this very manifesto. I think we can download this. This is available online. So if you'd like, you could download this manifesto and send it to your legislator. Everything, the information you need are at your hands. Pila na mag-search kang kasagutin nga. Diba? Ang email address sa imong congressman, dali na kayo na pangitaon. So the point is, you can join this fight and you must join this fight.
Well,
and this is constantly
School is already open, and I hope that your numbers will grow, because you really have to recruit them. Because if there is anything that the congressman or our legislator is scared of, it's numbers. So I hope you can go hard, because remember, you're up against people who have been bought. What naman is the argument? They will not argue with you because in a way they can't argue. They have been paid already, because they may even believe in your cause. So you have to really develop that group, because here in Cebu, wa kay may anang problema. We don't have that problem. But in Manila, you must, because a lot of them are there. But unfortunately, we ran out of time. We have really we enjoyed having a show, because after all, the youth is really the future of this country, and you are actually destroying the youth of the future by the RH bill. And I hope you guys are listening out there. We'll be back for the parting shots of our guests. Let's now ask Peter Pardo for his parting shot. Peter?
Good evening once again, and may I invite all the young people out there listening and watching this program to stand and be counted. The RH bill is not about our legislators, it's not about our religion, but it is about us, the young people who will harvest the fruits of this move to oppose the RH bill. This is about us. This is about the young people.
Thank you for that, Peter. Let's go to Eileen Esteban.
First, I would like to congratulate Cebu and the legislators of Cebu who has been staunchly fighting the RH bill. I hope you could influence your fellow legislators on really standing up for what they believe is true and real, and for the betterment of everyone. For the young people, we don't just campaign for you to vote for those legislators who will be against the RH bill, who will be pro-life, but we also campaign that you know what the bill is all about. Because your future, our future, is at stake here.
Thank you for that, Eileen. Let's go to Kiboy Tabata.
Of course, we're deeply grateful for this opportunity to be in this show and to invite everyone, to invite the youth especially, to invest in the people who know how to invest in our real welfare. This is what we repeated. This is our battle cry now. What constitutes real investment in the youth? It's not the RH bill. Let's look for people, let's look for leaders to invest in education, in entrepreneurship, in research and development, because these are what we need. And so we're inviting everyone, especially as a representative of UP for Life, we're inviting everyone, if you're an alumni, faculty, staff, or student of UP, to join this alliance. So simply look up UP for Life on Facebook, and you can find us, and send us your thoughts, and we'll be happy to have you in this.
Well, thank you again for that, Bobit Avila, Eileen Esteban, and Peter Pardo, for sharing us the hopes and dreams of the youth, at least from the National Capital Region sector. That's why I brought them here, because at least they learn something about here. While we do have our share of idiots who believe in the RH bill, they are students, by the way, who have been paid, and I dare say it in front in this camera. These people have been paid. Where will they get money to come up with a one-page ad in the national newspapers saying that they're the youth for the RH bill if somebody did not give them that money? Gusto na mong pangilan. Because for me, the RH bill is going to be a pro-abortion bill. And you know what happens? Remember Jose Rizal said, the youth is the hope of the motherland. So when you kill your future children through contraceptives, you're actually killing the hope of the fatherland. Very clear, simple logic. That's why we're still against RH bill, while the fight will be an uphill, because this President p-noy has already given the marching orders to have the RH bill approved. Then it is up now to the youth to show up and rise up, and maybe we don't know, tackle this government. It's up to them, because it's really their future, not ours. Kami man namin, mga tiguang namin. But really, Pinoy should wake up. They should not touch the youth, because the youth is dangerous when they get fired. And if they get fired with passion, we don't know where it will end. So, stop the RH bill before it's too late, Mr. President. This is Bobit Avila. Thank you and good night.